Hello traders, this is Alex with the StockMatrix program. Today is February 12th, Wednesday. It's about 6 p.m. We didn't have any trades here this week at all. I'm just going to give you a quick update and run through some of the charts, and just to kind of give you a heads up on where we're at. First thing, let's go to the stats page, and you can see that Nvidia, Microsoft, and BK, Bank of Magellan, they all had some annuals that came in, which are pretty important. Now, we only had 3. A few days ago, we had, 15, or 13 of them, I think. So pretty interesting how it quieted down a little bit. And then there's really not much in this at all out in the future ones. So once we get past these few, it gets pretty quiet. Nothing much here on the Gann dates. We got nothing on from the high side. No new highs to speak of. We did have 800, and we're about 855 is again the Gann number, right, that I'm using, which is a multiple of 45. So all these in the yellow are at 45 or just went through them. The lighter colored ones are ones that are past. So anyway, pretty interesting. These are all, you can kind of pause this, take a look at it. We are about 45 days from the next solar eclipse. So important for me. Again, I love and I understand the math of the solar eclipse, which I won't get into here. But so anyway, that's the stat page. Let's look at the stock matrix trade sheet. Again, no new trades at all. We are holding in here around 460 on the total index. Again, the high I believe was around 471-ish. Yeah, right here on December 7th. So again, an annular, right? We came off of that. We are holding about 13 long-term trends that are up and 4 that are down. And we've got Google short, Microsoft short with puts, of course. We've got Tesla short with puts, so, and Nvidia is short with puts. Now the short-term trends are up on a few of those. So, but anyway, that's where we stand there. Now I'm going to go set the charts up. Before I get to the charts, let's go to the bar chart where I keep my portfolio of all these 17 stocks options. Again, you can kind of pause and look through this. Coin is our loser so far that we still have on. Now you can see these are all the losses that are occurred, which is typical of when you first get into a program. And you can see that we're holding some of these trades, and it'll hold forever, right? System don't care. So Tesla puts, we got a couple grand made, 5 grand made in the Meta bull. That's been on there since January 6th, I think. Anyway, you can see how that works. Now, again, if you look at the top sheet here, this total fees, again, I put $1 per trade. So it tells me I have 35 trades. So if there's 17, that's 34. So basically we've gotten out of pretty much the losers. A few were double out flips, they got chiseled, chopped to death. So anyway, we had a loss of about 8,500, and now we're at 13 grand total profit. So net that was the gross, and that's about 47.78. So not too bad, considering we just picked the data out of the blue. Pretty much the low ebb and the high ebb of a lot of those markets if you look back through. Now I'm going to set up the charts. Hang with me one sec. So the first chart we're going to look at is Nvidia. NVDA is the symbol. This is my chart how I know when to be buying calls or buying puts or go long and go short. This is the actual daily chart with my annulars. Both of these have the solar eclipse closes on them, which I monitor. But you can see here this, and today is timing, again, that's why I'm bringing the video out. We came into a full moon at 1355 hours. So basically, within an hour of the close. So star time. Anyway, that again, I base everything on moon time and the square of 9 on the price structure. So anyway, you can see here the trend is short-term trend is up, long-term trend is down. Our stop got moved to here, from where it was at up here. So anyway, we got that moved. The stock itself is kind of in this weird ass gap. Again, they don't know how to run a spreadsheet, so these gaps are criminal in my opinion. We did have some timing from this green and thing here is the solar eclipse. So you can see that the solar eclipse here, I keep track of the close, and then I run, this basically doubles the zone, right? So anyway, from the secondary high here, we had basically a cycle of that from the solar. Anyway, that came in today. Could be a low, could be a continuation. We also had an annular coming in from 2016. Red, of course, means low. Blues mean a high. This is an open, so that caused kind of a stir up there, kind of a secondary event. So a little negative, it's reacting negative, and the system is short because of that, which makes sense. Now, this is Meta, M-E-T-A, and I spent 3-4 hours redoing this chart because we're kind of getting out of the realm Again, I can pre-adjust my square of 9 division. We went to actually a 1. This is currently set at 5 on this old chart, and you can see how different that is. I'll keep that one there. I'll probably delete this anyway. But let's go to the new chart, and I'll get rid of that other one here after I'm done with this video. I wanted to kind of show you how I had to redo it, because again, it's getting out of whack. Now this was a 5 by speed, and this one, the new one, is a 1 by 1, so it's actually the square. So, you know, the square root of 27 is 729, and that's where we're running. So anyway, you can tell how the difference in the look of it, right? Now, we won't get stopped out as quick, and because we slowed the speed down, but we won't make as much profit either. I made the determination to do that after the bolting here, this action here. It just got too fast, which is fine. I should have done it earlier before we started the system, but it takes time, so I didn't really want to do it, but I did anyway. So this is the chart here, the stops here, and bolting new highs. This is the first time we've closed higher while we did here, and the end result was a little corrective move. So now you can see, hopefully I don't screw this up, but you can see this trend line is a 1-to-1 trend line from the low. Now, since I had to redo it, I just did the solar and lunar eclipses, and you can see since the beginning of that, that's a solar eclipse close. Let me see. I think oh man, it won't let me do it. Yeah, that's way down here. Hang on with me. Okay, I paused you there. Now I always run it off of solar eclipses, right? And I just added this low, but you can see this 1-to-1 from this solar hit that solar again. 1-to-1 meaning 1 quarter moon over for 1 square 9 up. So each box, and you can see it almost hit that one. It was in the range, and that was back in 2020. Excuse me, 2023 in the fall. This one missed it. It kind of hit the range, and it hit this solar. You know, so it's a 1-to-1 speed, marking out the potential projections. Right now, this is the one coming up on March 29th, and you can see this is the 1-to-1 speed to the solar. So again, to me, we're a little overdone. You know, you look back at some of these that were a little overdone, and that's pretty key, right? It balances out. It's a moving average of sorts, cutting the time in half. 1-to-1. You know, when the market's in a bear trend, it'll do the same thing to the other side. Anyway, that's how I do my charts. You know, that's why I keep them up. I don't go into detail like this on everything. You can kind of look at it if you're kind of Gann familiar with what I'm doing. You know, the square of the range, right? I mean, the 1-to-1 square of the range, time and price. You know, so if we happen to close here like we did here, that's time and price, right? For Gann, WD Gann. So now it could go. You know, again, you don't know, right? So if you're picking stuff, you use options only, buy puts. You might go up to here and then break back. You know, you don't know how it's going to trade. Or we could go down to here and then trade back up. Anyway, so this is the solar eclipse stuff. That's why it's important to me. You know, we're 270 degrees over from the low on this point. You know, the pinnacle of the pattern here, the sideways triangular pattern. You know, the trending pattern, and then this accelerated, what you want to see, right? I always use the word acceleration because to me it's pretty key. All right, let's move on. One other thing in this meta daily chart, you can see I have this trend line marked. Now this is from the solar eclipse coming up, the next one. So 33 days prior to the solar. Now I like to use 33s. Gann used 45 calendar days. I like to use market days. You can see I got the other one up here from the other previous solar eclipse. Anyway, that's what you see. If you see that on the chart, it's 33 days prior to the solar. Now you can see potential topping action here on that. All right, I'll move on. Sorry. Let me. Now we got Coke, KO symbol. Again, if you remember, if you've been listening to my podcast here, I've been kind of friendly Coke, even down in here. I like the action that it had. You know, 270 degrees. You know, yada yada, 135 degrees off the highs. We ran the stops here. The system got long here on January 21st, and we had an acceleration with basically a gap, actually 2 gaps. Both were in the end of this time period. So pretty interesting. You know, I'm not saying it can't break back. Here's the previous solar eclipse, and likely my target, you know, probably somewhere in here for the price. You know, it can go above or below. If it's real negative, it doesn't quite get there. Here's the square of the previous range, you know, the lows, and that comes in on the 180. So again, I'm kind of looking for that to kind of develop. Yeah, maybe it's a low. Again, the system don't care. You know, sometimes I give you my opinion, which is opposite of the actual StockMatrix program. So, but again, I think it's kind of important for, like me, I don't have 150 grand to stick into a program like this. I'm picking and, you know, finding my areas. Now here's the annuals. We did have a few come in. Now we have more coming in that were actually lows. 2020 was a high and a low, so we had a big range in 2020. So that was COVID probably, I guess, or the beginning of COVID, and then the end of COVID, the little smash break we had in 2020. It was enough to register. So, and we had 2 in 1 period come in. Interesting how that worked out, an 08 and an 80, if you're into numerology, and an 18 here. So anyway, we had some timing, and the highs became the lows. So I'm guessing this could be a high in Coke, which again, if you look back at our other chart, we were kind of looking at February 28th, and this is March 3rd. So these, it's pretty close, right? And then we also have a timing here off of a data point, which is February 27th. So we got some stuff kind of projecting the possibilities there. Now the system don't care about that, right? It just goes with it. Here's Google. We got, this is one of the downtrenders. The short-term trend is down. We did close lower this end of this moon period. So again, it looks like a top to me. I like the fact that we had 3 highs. Both were bull traps, or this one and this one was a bull trap, right? I like that. It made a new high, closed crappy, each one of those. This one was a big outside event, and you can see that it was caused with this huge gap. Again, they couldn't figure out how to read their spreadsheet, I guess, and we have this huge gap down. So totally criminal that goes on in this computer era. They need to get an AI to do their work, I guess. Let's look at Microsoft. You can see we had some timing. It's kind of been busting it up all the way down, giving us good points of resistance. And again, I don't want to get into the annuals too much. You can kind of make up your own thing. But I like to watch these if these are highs. And you don't know that right until it moves down below it. So I actually had these down here, the arrows pointing up until today. Now that turned my arrows down. I'm confirming that these are important to me. So if you're so bullish Microsoft you can't handle it and you need to get in before the system goes long, then you kind of can buy it over this high here on a close basis. And you can see the stop is way up here though. So it's a pretty big risk on this trade, but again, that's why we use options. It's not cheap either, option-wise. Okay, let's go on to Amazon. Amazon has been a pretty good bull, but as a trader, I don't like to see this action after making new highs at these levels, new all-time high levels. This to me is it's appearing tired. Now again, you can see where my stop is, right? Again, I trade with 3 bars or time periods. It's kind of a point and figure thing for me, but it gives me, I don't want to get too close to the stops. I want to have less trade activity, especially with options. I want to be in the trend as long as I can. And now you can see we've been stopped in and out here. So this action, this whole thing makes me feel a little toppy. And my guess is we're going to probably go down to here again, maybe into the solar sequence. And the annuals are kind of showing the same thing, this toppy action. We did have a 2023, I guess that'd have been the year before, a high came in, just a day off, missed it by 1 day. So the annular is pretty active. And again, the closer in time, the more important to me as well. Now you can see we have 2 here coming in, 1999 and 2020, low and a high. So that's kind of a target area. February 13th is tomorrow. So Thursday should be an interesting day there as well. Let's move on. I could talk charts.
Refresh finished.
I could talk charts all day long. Oops, went too far. Okay, here's Apple. You can see this is I think this is a 1-to-1. No, it's a 1-to-1 slope. Now, I don't want to get into that math part of it, but that's the slope, a 1-to-1 slope, and it did hit it on the high side. Basically, right now it's close to 2 by 1. And you can see that these highs and lows have been pretty active on the annuals. Didn't have much in here to cause this bing bang. That was the AI jolt that came from China. But you can see we had a couple up here, one off the high, so again, pretty important. And as the system goes, the stops got moved from here to here, and it's a big good. Now the system was long way back here, and it got stopped out actually right here. That when this market broke that, so it got short here on January 31st. It should have. Anyway, that's been kind of a chipper chopper. Let's move on. Tesla is the next one. Where did my Tesla go? There it is, Tesla. We got one of the negative ones, only 4, but it's definitely a trender. The stop got moved down to here. Now, if you notice, all these stops on the long side are still losses. So I'm a little concerned that we're going to have an ugly end of the week potential, or maybe a gap down Monday or something. I'm a little concerned. So if again, the system doesn't change, right? It's just a simple system. So you don't just change it because you got a feeling, right? Now for me, that doesn't have quite the proper money to trade this system. If I got a big lead on something, I might buy some weekly puts or something to protect it. Maybe even keep the other ones on that I have. But I'm going to protect a little bit over this, probably, maybe go 2 weeks out, right, just to cover a little bit more time because I got to cover through Friday and probably Monday, Tuesday. So anyway, that's kind of I'm a little concerned about this weekend. Actually, into Friday, into this weekend. Actually, tomorrow's opening should be kind of interesting, right? And the close. Anyway, Tesla's pretty ugly. Kind of in the news a lot, so I like that as a trading deal. If you're looking to buy a break, really the only stops that make sense is down here. We didn't take them out yet, so if you're really bullish and wanting to buy some calls ahead of the system or whatever reason, probably they're going to run this area because that's the only place where there's stops, besides here. So let's move on. Here's Lynn. Again, kind of a hydrogen play. Stops got moved up to here, and you can see we bought it here. So this is one of them that we're locking in a profit unless it gaps below us. And you can see this market has been a rocket ship. Again, that's what I like to see, right? In areas of importance, it needs to accelerate, right? Now, just like it did here, these markets broke down, it needed to accelerate, and it did. Now we're up against resistance. Here's the solar eclipse. And this one I might have to change as well. There's a few that are a little too fast for my speed. So we'll see. That takes time. But it makes sense, right? Because you don't want to have your stop too close because you're lazy and like I am right here, not changing that data. But it takes about 5 hours to go through it. So because I'm manually plotting it. Okay, let's go to ED. Yeah, we did, by the way, Lynn did have some timing, last year's high, which was key, or low, excuse me, which is now a high. And then we had, again, I put 2 arrows because I don't know which way it's going yet. Might be a high, might be a low. So once we make a new high, I'll get rid of this one and move this one down to here. So again, you don't know, right? So I want to make sure when I glance at it a quick that I know that it's in a bubble kind of unknown state. All right, here's ED. Again, kind of a safe play from the stock indexes. Procter & Gamble. There's quite a few. You can see we had a little timing in here. It did gap down, which was a little ugly for it. But the chart itself did hit the 1-to-1 off the highs this moon period. Nothing to really fill. Stops down here though. So again, the system's going to stay long until it gets knocked out. The long-term trend, or short-term trend, won't get taken out till here. Now again, that's where I'd like to buy it if I'm wanting to buy the dip, and the system already bought it. But if I didn't get it bought, I kind of look for these areas to where it might turn the trend down on the short term, but the long-term trend is still up without a whole lot of risk. Now you still got to get out. Which a lot of people don't. Let's go to Adobe, the gap in Marty, Adobe. The system got long here. Here's our 3 boxes. Again, popped it out here, and now that it closed on its high for this period, right at this 1-to-1 off the highs. So it looks pretty interesting to me. Let me, I want to add this one. So that's the one coming off of this high. So again, that kind of comes into the solar here somewhere pretty close. So the solar eclipse close is kind of the target always for me. Again, I think targets are important when you don't have enough money to trade a system correctly. You got to get out of winners, but don't get in just because you missed it, right? Adobe we had a good bottom. We had some dates that were lows that are now was a low again. So it makes sense seasonally, cyclically. The solar eclipse data comes in on February 19th. IBM, again, the spreadsheets were broken. We had a big ass gap. Here's the daily chart. You can see what the heck, man. So we made, this was the open, the far back as I go with IBM, which is quite old, 80s, can't remember exact time, but this was the open, the first trade that I have on my charts. I like to mark that. If you're into astrological stuff, it's pretty important too, right? The birth of the whatever, the commodity. I used to do all that stuff. Now I keep it simple. KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. Because I got so mathematical overload on the trading, and then I've kind of merged everything together, and this is my merging. Using the moons for time, the Gann square, the square 9, right, for the price. I still follow the trend using this. So, and I use the Gann timing, the solar eclipses, which is Gann's biggest trade event that he used. So nothing much there. We had a big coil potential high. We had 3 bingers. They were highs again this year. So it makes sense that if it would break, that makes a little sense there. And here's BK, Bank of Magellan, one of the old banks in New York. Again, the stop got pushed way up here, which never usually, if it's going to get choppy, very seldom does it allow you to push stops into profit zones that are that narrow. So it makes me kind of bullish. I'm not saying I can't take that stop out, but that'd be one I'd be tempted to buy calls on when I get stopped out and fade the system, I guess. You know, because the old highs are right here. System's going to get stopped out here. Anyway, just a thought. Again, that's dangerous when you fight the system. I don't care what system you're using. Again, the systems usually work for a reason. Um, let's go to PG, Procter & Gamble. A nice, safer play, right? The indexes look a little toppy. The VIX got crazy, and then everybody dumped money into Procter & Gamble and BK and, you know, some of those safer plays, ED. But we got stopped out here, and you can see it did not accelerate. This thing should have flew up to here by now. So this makes me a little soft. Now, if we gap higher and go, that's great. It kind of will look like Coke. Coke was slow too, and then it had a big gap and go. So again, the system don't care about slow or fast, right? So you give it its due. Solar eclipse is right up here, so it'd be nice to get up here and see new highs. Actually, here's the daily chart. Not much to report. We have some timing coming in on the 14th, so Friday will be pretty important there. Again, that's the solar eclipse from to this area. So that's a cycle of that. Here is the open in 1980. Again, another old company, which they have a lot of products, right? They're a little more stable than a company that's one-sided. So let's go on to JPM, the diamond. You don't fight the diamond, and it's up. It's been a great trade for the system. We did get a little choppy here. Now, of course, it made a good lick before this chop, before the system officially got long. When we were in the trial phase, it had a pretty good lick. And then it got chippy here, and then you went with it, right? Here's your box 3, or excuse me, right here. So that was where the stop was, and then it finally took it out here on this, and it accelerated, right? Made new highs. Exactly what you feel comfortable with. Again, that's why the options work when it works, because you have low leverage with a big whip, a good movement. And here's the daily chart. Again, you can see I haven't taken this. Could be a low, could be a high. I don't know yet. We do have a couple coming in on the 14th, so Friday will be important on that. So in 1984, 2011 it looks like. So, and again, you can see I drew these. This was the previous break, and I matched it here to kind of give me an idea if it had a similar corrective move, a parallel channel, right? That I can tell it's, you know, where it's at. Let's move on. Coin, my shortest term data, which I don't like doing. I broke one of my rules, but I wanted something to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not enough data either for me. So coin, I thought, well, that's at least a stock, not a, you know, kind of based on Coinbase, right? It's a Coinbase stock. So it follows it pretty good, whatever. Again, another timing cycle of this, from this high to this low, comes in on the 14th, again, Friday. Kind of a weak stick. Trend is down. Short term, long term trend, it's up. Now, again, the stop was here. Right, the stop was here, and now after today we raised it to here, so it's right underneath the lows of this week, right on this one-to-one trend line off the high. Anyway, pretty important little area. I would have been a little more comfortable leaving the stop down, but again, it's a system that don't care. Let me go to the next one. Cintas, another old company, and you can see that Cintas, it was a rocket ship. Unbelievable, you know, but this was the split. It had a split, boom, down 21%. Again, the spreadsheets are broken. What? So I'm afraid that's what Meta, Facebook, is trying to do. It hasn't had a split yet since it was Meta, and I think it's pushing that up to try to get the split. I think the fear is, the possibility is this 20% correction right away. Now that's still maybe a buy. I don't know. I'm not a big Cintas fan, but it's up there against the solar right now. You can see I got it marked here and here. There's some timing coming in the 19th from this solar to this big gapping, big bar here. So pretty important. We're basically within the range, halfway back of the range, right? Dribbled. Now this is not bearish to me. This data pattern is typical of it just keeps grinding, and then it gets fast, and then we make a new high. So not real bearish this pattern, but you know, halfway back, you respect that. We have one timing. Now it's interesting. This old company, right? This is an old company. Cintas been around a long freaking time. You know, all that data I had back was from the 80s, but I know it's been trading longer than that. But there was no swing highs or lows in a month, almost 2 months. That's just strange to me. It's a pattern. I kind of find it fascinating. So, but we did fill the gap. So there's some technical reasons why to be a little careful here. But you know, if you start making new highs, you got to go with it. The system's long. Stops are here. Got long here. All right, because here's your 3-bar pattern that I'm using on the system. 45 degrees was here. and we made new highs after it. So not real bearish. 90 degrees off the high is right here. So, you know, a couple more periods and we'll be set. Anyway, well, that's it. I've done so. All right. I'll talk to you guys another day here. We haven't, like I said, we haven't had any trades for 4 or 5 days. So that's interesting. Thank you. Have a great trading rest of your week.